Welcome on in. Higher Insight. How are you all doing? How are you all feeling? Welcome on in. Happy 4th of July, everyone. Happy 4th of July. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Good to see everyone. Yeah, good to see you. Welcome on in. Yeah, what a surprise, huh? I was in the process of recording the questions from our community post. And as I dove deeper into it, I honestly realized that this deserved a live conversation. So I know I said I was going to do a recording, but I decided to come on and, oh, you're chilling with your AHA Halo. Yeah, I got mines too. I'm so glad, Dr. Jasmine, you got your AHA Halo. Definitely, it is an AHA Halo day. Happy 4th of July, everyone. Welcome on in. I'm so glad you guys are joining me. I hope you had a good 4th of July. And so, in light of before all the fireworks and everything gets going, I thought that I would actually come on and answer the community questions, and we can go through them here. And yeah, we can go through them here. So we're gonna get into it. Not a whole lot of that. I've been having a beautiful day. I just want to welcome all of you and beautiful intuitive souls here, and I hope that you're doing well. Yeah. Remember, I asked the communities to submit collective questions, and you guys did. And like I said, when I started preparing this recording, I realized these questions deserved a live conversation. So here we are. We're going to explore them together, all of us here together. And I want you to know, I put the questions, I want you to know the questions. These are questions, not personal readings. And what I'm going to do is share my reflection on these questions. I'm going to also share channeled information from these questions. I'm sharing intuitive insight, spiritual perspective, and expansion-based conversation, because that's the purpose of me doing this. I really wanted us to be able to expand on this. I want us to also hit that like button. I know many people don't know that I am live, probably have no idea. So we'll see how that goes. So if you guys are ready, let's go ahead and dive into the questions. And the first one that we're going to talk about is, what are the most effective ways our community and collective to creatively teach or guide youth and young adults towards essential lifelong skills beyond school? That's a great question, and I think it's one that we've seen, but I'll tell you what I've been picking up and over the last couple of years. So many things are changing in our world. We are moving through timeline after timeline, and we are changing timelines so quickly, like it is mind-blowing. And when it comes to our youth, and particularly those of us who are parents, you may be a teacher, an uncle, an aunt, a grandmother, grandfather, or just a close friend to some of these young people. One of the things in particular we can essentially guide them towards is really being more of their authentic self. We've lived in a world that has been clouded by illusion for so long. And a lot of the young people that are coming up right now, they either came in on the cusp of this illusion cracking and opening up, or they were a part of helping us break past the illusions, wherever it is they understand now a different world than most of us grew up to understand. And what we thought the world was, what we understood the world to be, a lot of our young people, they are seeing a very different world. In fact, they are a part of that. We can really encourage them to follow what they truly feel is something. Here's two things, and I see this when I'm working with young people. Number one, what is the thing that's challenging them the most? And I think we can really begin to guide them by encouraging them to solve a problem. And most of the problems they need to solve are the ones that they're most challenged with in their life. And we see this from the youngest of the youth um, throughout the young people and Gen Z on the planet. They are solving problems of their generation and of the world. And that's what we can encourage them to do. Beyond school, which school is going to change over the course of the next 5 years, what we thought of as education and training is completely going to get flipped upside on its head. There is an innovation coming in this space, and it's coming like a strong wave. And we're going to probably see this as strong as 2027, where more time of school is going to be hands on. And so we're going to go back to learning trades and skills. And this isn't something I think we have to do a lot of work with our youth. Many of them understand this. And some of them will tell you some of the trades and skills that they learn that they just started doing it. And all of a sudden, they realized that they were really good at it. A lot of it is because ancient DNA is there. Ancient DNA is there, and that DNA is being waking up within humanity collective as all, not just the youth, but all of us. And so we can continuously encourage them, number one, to be their true authentic self. And number two, see if there's something that they can create with their physical hands, with their internal knowing and with their hands. And they will naturally move themselves into that position. So that's what we can do. So that was question number one. And we're going to go through these questions. I want to welcome everyone on into the live. Of course, I am Miss Blue, the Soulful Oracle, and I'm so glad you're here. Definitely you want to share the live out and let everyone know we're here. Here's the second question. And you all also, especially if you're listening live as well too, I'll be keeping an eye out, seeing what some of you are saying. Number two, what vital skills do you feel is important for the community and collective to focus on, regardless of the culture, belief, or the background? I love this question because I do think that there is something collectively we should all be focusing on as spiritual beings on planet Earth. Number one, agriculture. So no matter what background, what school of thought, and what belief or culture you come from, you should be focusing on agriculture. And when I say agriculture, I'm talking about everything like food and water, things of those nutrition and the land, for where we live, where we build our houses, how we build our houses, where we come together at. This is something we should be focusing on. So number one, I'm going to say agriculture, no matter what background, no matter what culture, and no matter what belief system. Second, wholeness and healing. Wholeness and healing. So no matter your culture, no matter your belief system, and no matter your background, wholeness and healing is a focus, right? When I see wholeness, I see healing intertwined in between it. And you all let me know how you see that as well. Because a part of wholeness is learning to get along as a community, learning to get along as a culture, learning to get along with people who are the same and people who are different, but just overall learning how to get along, having that wholeness with one another, that wholeness for each other, and the healing aspect. Healing aspect, but not in the traditional sense of just trauma. I think healing is an important part of not only our physical well beings, but one of the things my guides have shown me, it's a part of our biology. Every single night that we go to sleep, and it's a portion of us that goes into the astral realm. And when our conscious mind travels into our spiritual body, astral body, excuse me, travels into the astral realm, our physical body goes through a healing state. There are cells that are being repaired. There are, things in the body that is being born again. There are, subatomical particles that are mending themselves. There are different types of mutation that is going. There is upgrades that is happening within the physical body. Like all of this occurs every 24 hours within ourselves. And so healing is always going to be a part of the journey. I think in humanity, one of the things that we can learn is that healing is not just something that's in our mind, even though we know all is the mind. It starts on the emotional level. The mind is what plants the seed, and that seed begins to grow. And when that seed begins to grow, it carries a vibration and a frequency, and it begins to impact us on a physical level, on a mental level, and then even on a spiritual level. So, wholeness and healing, but we have to start thinking about healing as more holistic and not something that's centralized to just one portion or one aspect of what we call our avatar or our personality, right? We need to go a little deeper. So far of the things, and this is an amazing question here, of the vital skills that I feel is important for the community and the collective to focus on, regardless of culture, belief, and background. Number one, agriculture. And that's all aspects of agriculture, including all of the elements and how they play into the agriculture as well. And of course, Gaia, Mother Earth, right? Geb, if we want to look at it that way, as well as Newt and Geb, the whole circumference of that. Tefnut and Shu, which brings us into the balance aspect of the yin and the yang. So all of that is going to be the agriculture, and then the wholeness and healing. And that encompasses everything with the wholeness and healing. And then the third thing, and that I feel that we need to focus on as a community and a collective, regardless of our culture, belief, and background, innovation. Innovation. I think that should be front and center for any community. All of us as a collective, we need to focus on innovating. How can we innovate? And I want to give it to you in my terms. Innovation is, how can we improve? How can we make something better, more efficient? How can we transform the process of what we're doing, not necessarily to make something easy, but to make it more in alignment, to make it more in flow, to make it more natural, right? How can we make it a part of something that it can fit into the complete whole? Thank you, Lola. Good to see you, Lola. So that's our next question. How are we doing? I want to welcome everyone on into the live again. We are answering the questions from the community, and I have them here. Now, this question here, I'm going to answer this question because I think it's an important one. I think it's an important one, even though it may come off like it's not a community question, but it is. And this is the question. I had a dream under the strawberry moon where people were running into zombies or seemed possessed. Some were chasing others, and some people got away while others did not. Does this dream have any collective or spiritual meaning? You know, our dreams are so profound and they're also so very personal and intimate at the same time. I did a lot of work of doing remote viewing and also going back into the Akashic records and looking at how many of our ancestors from ancient civilizations dealt with dreams and how they understood dreams and what dreams meant to them. And one of the things that I seen for sure when it came to dreams is there are so many different levels of dreams. And so the very first level of the dream, that is really the unconscious. You know, it's like you have this little dream conductor in there, and they are giving you signs and symbols to help you figure out something that's going on in your day to day life. Now, here's the thing, you may have a dream like this dream here, and it could be something bothering you, but you have learned how to tone it out. You've learned how to separate yourself from it. But deep down inside, it is something that is really, really bothering you. It's upsetting you. It's low key, it could be traumatizing you on the back end, and you don't know because you've got so good at tuning out your own feelings and your own emotions. So you could be struggling within your own consciousness and not know it. And a lot of times dreams will come up and sometimes they will be what we call these nightmares, because this is something that's deeply embedded within your unconscious that you're unaware of it. And your higher self is attempting to do its best to get you to become aware of your own consciousness. And so this dream about people turning into zombies and seemingly being possessed and chasing others. Some people got away while others did not. And so the first place I would always tell us is to look at yourself. It's so important to do that, not so you can become so self-absorbed, but so that you can really clear the slate, because this dream came to you for a reason, because it is something here for you to uncover. Other things that dreams can do for us is if you have a problem, if there is something you're struggling with and you have that, you can really set the intention before you go to sleep at night and put a dream request in and write out a petition. You can put it in your journal, put it on a piece of paper, put it inside your pillowcase and sleep on it, requesting to get insight from the dream. And this petition, you can request from your higher self to show you the insight into the dream, and it will be revealed to you, right? So that's another thing. Most of our dreams, believe it or not, they are not prophetic, meaning a lot of times they're not, because prophetic dreams come in a little different. And really, most people, I know myself, you all let me know, when you have a prophetic dream, you're not questioning whether it was a dream. You know for sure it's something inside of you that you know this will be an experience that you will experience. It hits a little different. It just hits a little different. The other thing that it could be is that we are changing timelines so fast. We are in the midst of the earth splitting, which the earth has already split many times before. But the difference is this time there are enough souls and vibration on the planet that the split is one that is become collective. And I want to kind of break that down so you can understand what I mean by that. There was a time in humanity where there were always those who were very adept in their understanding of the world and the universe. And they always seen this higher vibrations or these different dimensions that they could tap into and that they could connect themselves to. So that's always have been here. So every dimension that we discover, and by the way, literally, I have seen this myself. There are as many dimensions as they are stars in the sky. So it's infinite. It's infinite. But I want you to understand in close proximity of where we are in humanity, what dimensions we can tap into is why I feel we label things. And we love to do that here on Earth. We like playing with our minds and we love to advance ourselves as souls on the planet. And so the zombies and people seeming like they're possessed, I want you to also look at this collectively as a metaphor. Aren't there people walking around that are like zombies? They are very detached from their own emotions and their feelings because that's what a zombie is. A zombie is somebody who is operating out of a consciousness that is not their own. They are not aware. They are moving like robots. You understand? They're moving like robots. Something else is controlling them. Some other frequency, some other entity is controlling what they do, and they have no constraints over their body functions. They have no constraints over anything that they're doing. There are people on this planet that is fully operational, that is operating under those constraints. That could be the zombie and people being possessed. What does it mean to be possessed? To be possessed means to allow a desire of something that is not local or natural to you to take over. Now, honestly, this could be somebody in a relationship. This could actually be a woman in a relationship who is madly in love with someone. She is possessed because all of her focus, her energy is something outside of herself. She is possessed. So people can become possessed with a lot of things, possessed with some sort of goal, some sort of achievement, some sort of this. It doesn't always have to be of the darker side to be possessed. I want us to expand our consciousness and awareness when we start to look at these things and see them there. What is somebody who's a zombie? I've talked to a lot of you guys who work a 9 to 5, and when that job is, it's time for you to end that job, you become a zombie and you feel like you're fighting. You just go to work, go to sleep, wake up, go back to work, go to sleep, wake up, go back to work. A lot of people, this is what wakes their consciousness up and they feel like I've become a zombie. I got to get out of here. So I want us to look at the symbolism of these things when we talk about the dream. And so the back end of this question is, does this dream have any collective or spiritual meaning? Everything has a collective and a spiritual meaning in essence. But as far as zombies being on the planet, if we look at this energetically, they've been here. They've always been here. As far as people being possessed, people are possessed. They've always been possessed. I remember when they first came out with the new iPhones. Do y'all remember that? And there were people in other countries selling their body parts to get an iPhone. If you look at that energetically, doesn't it sound like someone who is possessed? So look at your dreams, understand them, but don't take everything to be literal. Not that there's not a place for things to be literal, but I want you to also look at all aspects of it. All right. So let's move on. I want to welcome everyone on into the live. We are answering the collective questions that you guys have sent to me. Here is question number 4. Question number 4. I had a dream 2 years ago of being lifted into a mothership, walking around a metallic hallway, and then being shown 2 portals. One portal shown an apocalyptic earth, and the other one showed joyful people celebrating with a stage and audience. What could this showing about? What could this be showing about of the future of the collective? Okay, so this dream right here really speaks to the collective in the way of how many have positioned it as the new earth and the old earth and the split. And you hear many teachers who have talked about it long before you and I were even born, about there would come a time in humanity where there would be 2 earths. Think about the group who sung the song, This is the Age of Aquarius. The name of the group, I think, was Welcome to the Fifth Dimension or something like that. We did a whole show on this back in the day. So this has been something that we have known has been coming. The good thing is, and why I always came up with this saying, what a time to be alive growing up on planet Earth, is because what a time to be alive. We are coming back to a time that our ancestors and even ourselves in a past life, we dreamt about being here doing this work at this time. So everyone who is here on the planet at this time, you came for a reason. You came to experience this time. You came here for this experience of this enlightenment. There was a time that humanity was held in a darker space, in a darker light. And so when souls came to the planet, it wasn't that many souls who had their consciousness and awareness raised to a certain level. But look, after generation and generation and thousands upon thousands of years, we are now able to bring more light here. Not maybe that has ever been here, but what has been needed for this time. And I can tell you this, from what I'm seeing, is that this light that is coming here is so profound. It's so profound. It is so profound in this time. In a couple of months, we will have cures for many different things that our ancestors and loved ones dreamt about. I shared the story with you guys, and these were some of my own predictions as well, about the brother who was the first one to be cured from sickle cell anemia. Do you know how big that is? There will be cures for all kinds of things, and we will be moving more into frequency-based healing, things that are non-invasive. You understand? That's why I got so excited about the AHA Halo. But we're going to have more frequency. So the med beds that you hear, and about the place in San Francisco that's going to be opening up, that the person who started Midjourney founded this spa where they're going to be doing healing and body scans and, healing through these rays of light and frequencies. So just like we're in the midst today, and if you guys didn't hear the last show I did yesterday, you want to go back and listen to that so you can understand what's going on right now, because that's significant. So yeah, I want to share that. Here's the next question. What insight do you have about the increase of autistic children And what is the spiritual significance of this phenomenon? So, when souls are coming to the planet, they choose their bodies and they choose a lot of times their experience within that body. Artistic souls are here to really help us become more multi-dimensional. Think about it. When a child is born with what we call autism, you see that word art that is there. And we also know that that word art, outside of what we think about crafts and paintings and music and all of that, art really speaks to something that is universal. Like you can take a picture, you can take some sort of craft, you can take some sort of design, and I don't need to learn how to speak your language. I'm able to look at that and see the beauty and see the energy that's in that. We don't have to know anything about each other. That is something that we can look at, and there is a universal sort of kind of understanding. These are highly advanced beings, and many of them are born into families that they are here to help them raise their vibrational frequency. So I have friends who have children who were some born artistic, some became artistic. But these children are tremendously powerful, multi-dimensional beings that are here, these autistic children. And they have a way of seeing the world. And quiet as a cat, there's so many different dimensions of this understanding of autism because we all have it. There's just different levels of dimensions within our souls and within our beings to know it. But if you know a parent who has an artistic child, that is a highly psychic, telepathic child. In fact, it increases anyone who's around there. They learn very early on how to listen with their inner hearing, right? And their intuition to what that child needs and the support for that child. One of our neighbors at one time had still has two beautiful artistic children. And one of our other neighbors, whenever they would come around, the children would take off running. They didn't like that person. And it wasn't that they did anything wrong. I will go into it, but I don't know who's out there listening. But anyway, whenever I would come around, they were very welcoming and very loving to myself and to my daughter, those children. But I want you to know that those are some powerful souls, children who are extremely autistic. Those children really are here, those soul beings. And what they are is sometimes they are portals for other souls to come through so that they can experience the world, but not be born into the world. So a lot of souls will come into artistic beings, children, or people who are severely artistic, meaning they pretty much cannot function on their own. But there is times that you can see this light inside of them because they are the windows for other souls when they're thinking about coming here and leaving. So they travel into these artistic souls. But artistic souls are here to wake up the bloodline, to raise the frequency and vibration within that bloodline. Almost every parent, and I can't speak for everyone around the world, of course, but if someone has an artistic child and you begin to start talking to them about intuition, telepathic things, I guarantee you they are more open, and they wouldn't have been had that child not been in their family's bloodline. It is to raise the frequency within the family bloodline. That is a big part. And that is a very, very advanced soul. That is a soul that is here, that is a master teacher on this planet to help teach us things, because there is very specific things. Yes, you remember me talking about this in the past shows on Blog Talk. Yes, there are very specific things with autistic individuals, these souls. They like things a certain way, like they kind of are here to really help you bring yourself together. So, usually, when I work with a family that has someone in the family autistic, that person is their master teacher in so many areas of their life. It teaches them about compassion. It teaches them about selflessness, not being so self absorbed in their ego. And so, as a result, the whole family gets to elevate themselves in a profound way. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So it's a powerful thing. And these are blessed souls that have come down. And I just have found them to be very much master teachers to humanity in so many different ways. Yeah. So here's another one. What tools can we use to step into our assignment during this season? Awareness and expansion. That's going to be your two most powerful tools. Awareness, self-awareness, and expansion. Those are going to be your two most powerful tools to step into. Remember, assignments are things that can change. No different than you filling out an application and saying you want to work for this company. And you go there and you're there for about a week, you're there for 2 months, and then all of a sudden you decide you don't want to work there anymore. So there is no one that's on an assignment and you're just locked in and you're stuck. We have raised our consciousness on the planet and we have outgrown that phase, and we realize that we have more freedom than we think. You know, free will is not just a great will here on planet Earth. It is the greatest will throughout all galaxies and all worlds and all dimensions. That free will exists everywhere. It's not just here. So you're not locked into no assignment. Tomorrow, I can get up and decide I want to go be a girly that lives by the beach. And every day I go for a walk and, just watch the sunrise and the sunset. And that's my assignment. There is no punishment for how could you walk away from this life, or how could you stop doing this, or how could you stop doing that. It doesn't work like that. So whatever is your assignment, how you can step into whatever you're choosing. Remember, you're choosing this. Awareness and expansion. I said this many, many years ago, and I'm going to state it here again. I don't believe no longer we're on a spiritual journey. I don't believe that. We're spiritual beings. We don't need to do anything to be spiritual. By the essence of us, we are spiritual. We don't need, there is no check the block. There is no morals. There is no code. There is no assignment that makes you spiritual. Not really. Now, tapping into spirituality is very different from being spiritual. You can be something and not know it, right? That's not the issue. We're on a journey of expansion. And, my guides and teachers have really taught me this. And I really, really, for years now, have understood that this journey is not about spirituality. It's about expansion. Can you expand your thought and awareness? I cannot get to we are all one. How can we get to we are all one without expansion? You have to expand, and you have to have self-awareness. And within that self-awareness is, the big part of the self-awareness is self-love, and it is the shadow work. It's just a different way of doing shadow work that doesn't create more karma or more shadow karma. That's what humanity is attempting to get out of, is the humanity karma. And so shadow work is not bad. That's why I say self-love is the new shadow work, because when you do it from that level of expansion, you're not creating more damage as you go along. You heard the saying when someone says, I feel like I'm taking 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. That's what humanity has been doing with shadow work forever. And they're just calling it shadow work, but they're creating more damage as they go forward. So we really wasn't moving anywhere. It wasn't until this last sort of century that we have made any kind of inches forward when it comes to understanding who we are as spiritual beings growing up on planet Earth. So yeah, that was the question about the tools. Let's go to the next one. We answered this one. I'll read it. What should we as a collective be focusing on at this time? We have to focus on wholeness. This is going back to the community, our agriculture, and innovation. But most importantly, before we can focus collectively, we must also get into our own self-awareness, right? Our self-awareness. Now, here is a good question. This one, question number 8. How are we doing? Welcome everyone on in. I would love for you to hit that like button and also share the live as well. I am answering community questions that was posted on our community page here. This one is, are people experiencing overlaps of parallel dimensions and timelines? For example, objects appearing where they were not before. And why do you think so many people are reporting similar experiences? Yes, 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 yes. So yes to all of that. Energy is moving so fast, so fast. We even had the Schumann residents over the last couple of weeks have even got down to like a low. When has that happened? I don't think that's ever happened. Like the Schumann resonance, the vibration and frequency of Earth have shifted and moved and become very quiet and very loud in ways that hasn't been documented before. And I think that's personally because we are in this window where you can move throughout dimensions, which has always been available to us. And a lot of times while we have objects that are there, we go to look for the object, it's not there, but we come back and we see the object appear. I personally believe because you have shift dimensions. I think the real question is when that happens to me, I begin to think about the object. And what does that object mean to me? What does it actually mean to me? Because maybe I'm in a timeline where that attachment that I had to that object or what that emotionally meant to me, I'm in a different space. Or there's something else I'm hoping for or wanting to create. I remember before I purchased my car that I've had now for several years, but prior to that, right before that happened, I kept misplacing my key fob. And I kept saying, why is this happening? I know it was right here. I know it was right here. I just looked at it and it's gone. Because I was already on the new timeline where I had another vehicle. And so think about when that is happening, because I think it is think of it this way. This is everything you want, and this is you. All you have to do is get in vibration of it. Everything you want already exists. You just need to bring your awareness to that existence. And then the goal is to maintain the frequency. But I don't want to just speak in lip service to you guys. Maintaining the frequency of you being self sufficient and maybe having your own business or working from home means that every single day you have to take action towards that. Because maintaining a vibration is not just an internal mental thought. It is something that is whole body. That means that everything from your subatomical particles in your body, from the way that you speak, the way that you think, the actions you take, the ones you don't, they all must be in alignment of how not the world sees you doing that, but how you see yourself doing and being that. And once you can come into that beingness, there is no limit. There is no limit to what you can create. There is no limit to what you can do. These are the things that they have spoke about in sacred texts. If I believe that I can take this fish and I can feed a village, and I really visualize myself taking this fish and this one fish, and it's enough food to feed everybody that's here, we can do it. And all it takes is to have one or two other people with me that can agree that this is possible. How many things that you have done that has been what you would have thought was impossible 10 years ago? Impossible. So, yeah, that's the answer to that. So I do feel that this is happening, and why so many people are experiencing it, because we all have gotten a taste. We've gotten a taste of our superpowers. We've gotten a taste of what it feels like to experience and trust our intuition. We've gotten a taste of what it feels like to manifest something, to want something, desire something, and to let all of that go and know what true manifestation feels like, looks like, and have it happen. We got a real taste of what it's like. And that's why it's happening. So we're going in between different dimensions and frequencies. And, you know, we're time traveling into the past, into the future, into the present moment. So these parallel dimensions, you know, you think about what quantum physics say when they say, if you say yes to this, there's a portion of you that said no. And that portion is moving forward. That part of you is saying no. I believe it was in Dream Makers, we did a spirit class where I took them to see all of their possible timelines. And they could see them as rays of light, almost like, what do you call it? Like fiber optic light that's just glowing with all of these colors. And I said, I want you to stand there and see all of your possible timelines. And I want you to decide what timeline you want to be on. And I want you to go for that timeline. Go for it. And they were amazed at how they shifted in their day-to-day life. Some people even reported that a food they were eating, which wasn't healthy for them, that following week, they couldn't even eat that food anymore. Like they didn't have a desire for it. They didn't have a taste for it. Some of their bad habits instantly went away. How do I know? Because everything that I share, I've done to me. I've experienced it. And so I know it's possible. Because as much as we are unique, there is an intricate part of us that is all connected. And there is a likeness within all of us. And that's what a lot of people, I personally feel, try to play on your downfall and try to make you think that everything you experience is because it's coming from within you. And that's true on a level, but that's really an elementary level of understanding. Because when you start getting to the superior level of understanding your own awareness, you will know that there are certain things that must present itself to you. so that you can understand the separation between yourself and it. So you can own your own power and stand in your sovereignty. Otherwise, there would be no need for sovereignty. There would be no need to separate from the group. It would be no need to say, everybody else is going left. Why aren't you going left? We would all be following the same crowd. We all will be doing the exact same thing. We all would be dressing alike. We all would be speaking alike. And this is what there is a large group of people on the planet that wants you to believe. They want you to believe, no, 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 don't rock the boat. You're supposed to do exactly what everyone else is doing. This is the only way we can get along. And that's not what that understanding is. That's a very elementary, primitive understanding of all is one. That's very primitive. How we become one is I bring my uniqueness, you bring your uniqueness, and like a giant puzzle, everybody feels their spot, and no one else can get into someone else's spot. There is no need for me to try to be you or you to be me, because you can't fill my spot and I can't fill yours. But the good news is we all have a place. And when we come together, that is the wholeness of we all are one. And that's where humanity is working towards. Now, here is question number 9. Question number 9. Why do people from different decades sometimes appear to have similar facial features? I love this question. And what might humanity begin to mimic or mirror amongst ourselves in the future? So, just like we have soul groups, we have bloodlines, right? But we also have spiritual bloodlines. And a lot of times you will see people, they will have the same kind of look, even though they may not be from the same soul family, right? Meaning on this planet, they're not from the same physical planet. They may not be from the same cultural background, but you can see sort of that template energy coming through. And it is because in another existence, in another dimension, they all came from the same place. It's just like when we look at the continent of Africa, and there are certain features when you live in a certain type of altitude or a certain environment, just like certain people who come from the continent of Asia, they have a certain kind of look about them, a physical look. This is speaking more to, I would say, past life and current experience, meaning what work we've chosen to do when we came on this planet than anything. Because there are people who live, if you were to move to Asia and we were to go 5 generations in and you were to stay there, eventually your eyes would change, the shape of your eyes, your hair would change, your skin would change. There would be things based upon the atmosphere that will change the dynamics of how you look. Now, what I have found is when doing past life readings, that a lot of these people that find themselves in connection with this, there is some sort of connection, but not in the way of cloning, because some people talk about this like there's only so many templates, and it's like playing the video game where you choose, like the Sims and different games like that. You can choose your eye color, you could choose how your hair, your nose, your lips, your mouth, and your body. I feel it is something like that, but not to that extreme. Not to that extreme. I think it is something that is a little deeper than that, where these souls have a connection. And this is why there is a lightness to their vibration of them coming into the planet. And I do feel there is a limit here on earth because we are humans. And so if we look at the initial seeding of this planet, it's like having a garden, and you can pick so many flowers and trees and bushes to be in your garden, right? Now you have free will. You can pick whatever you want. So you may want to be a rose, but you don't want to be a red rose. Maybe you want to be a violet rose, or you want to be a pink rose or a yellow rose, right? You want to be a different kind of rose or a white rose. You want to be a different rose, but you're still a rose. And so this is how I feel this connection of why people have these facial features and times. I also think because of when souls reincarnate, there was a time where souls would usually take about anywhere from 400 to 500 years to reincarnate, right? And then as we got into more times within humanity, like anytime we have war going on the planet, then what happens is the physical bodies become slim. And so like during World War I and World War II, souls wanted to come back quicker. They wanted to come back quicker. So they were getting back in line. So they were leaving and coming back, leaving and coming back, leaving and coming back. And then those souls didn't come back for a while, until we started getting into the 80s, getting into like well, let me go back a little further, getting even some in the 60s. A lot of souls who were born in the 60s and born in the 70s were souls who were in World War I and World War II, even some in Vietnam, and came back right away. Especially towards the end of the 60s, getting into the 70s, into the 80s. A lot of them, a lot of us are recycled souls who were on the planet in that earlier time who came back. I know for myself, I could not for the longest. I couldn't watch any military TV show, MASH, any of those shows that showed anything about the military when I was young. My mother said I would immediately start crying. I would get tremendously sad. And later I found out that I was in World War I. Like that was a past life for me, because all of that was traumatizing to me. I couldn't. The other thing I could not watch was Star Trek. If Star Trek came on TV or any space program, except for the Jetsons, I could watch that sometimes. But if it was a real show like Star Trek or whatever, I would instantly fall asleep, or I would get sick to my stomach. Like I couldn't watch it. I just could not watch it. So a lot of souls that are here have been here before. There's a combination, I feel, of 4 types of souls on the planet. We have old souls. That's souls who have reincarnated. And I have done to this point thousands upon thousands of past life readings or other life readings. And I'd say more than 80% of them are souls who have been on this planet multiple times. I'm talking about 40, 50 times. I do know this. Every single person who has lived on Earth, and I'm not even going to go back to Atlantis and Lemuria, but I want to talk about one of the civilizations that I feel was a rites of passage that was here. That was here. And one of the rites of passage is ancient Egypt. Every single soul on the planet, and this is coming from me based on my work and where I am right now, every single soul who has lived here on the planet, from what I can see inside of the records and talking to other beings, have all had a past life in ancient Egypt. Everyone. That's why you can go to all of the great civilizations that's been on this planet. And there are some great ones. There are some fascinating ones. There are some incredible civilizations coming out of the East, coming out of the West, coming out of the North, coming out of the South, coming out of everywhere. However, none is more recognizable to a soul than Egypt. And there is a reason. And I personally feel in my work from what I've done is because every single soul has spent a past life. I don't care what your culture is. I don't care what your religion is. I don't care what your background is, baby. Egypt, there is a calling to that. And that's one of the few civilizations of ancient Kemet that has been left intact. And I personally think it has been left intact in so many ways, more than other civilizations collectively, right? Because of that reason. Because of that reason. And I don't just say that from biased points of view. This is what I have discovered from past life readings, from clients of working with them, and from other lives. So, yeah, people are experiencing parallel dimensions and as well as timelines. They are experiencing them in so many ways. Yeah. Oh, we have moved on. We were on the feature. So you can see someone that looks like you. Like people have twins. You know how they say everybody in the world has a twin? Well, we don't definitely know what our mothers and fathers' decisions were on the planet at the time of conception. Some of us were born twins, but our twin decided to go somewhere else. So you might have been born a twin, but your twin decided to incarnate in China, incarnate in the Middle East, incarnate in Ireland, incarnate into another family, incarnate somewhere else in the world and have a completely different experience. And that soul wanted to have another experience. The soul decided, listen, we're going to go down as twins and you're going to have that experience and I'm going to have this experience and we're both going to be here. So you can have that in so many different ways. All right. So now we're going to go on to question number 10, and I am answering the questions from the community tab on the Soulful Oracle here on the Soulful Oracle page. And yeah, I'm answering you guys' questions that you ask. I was going to do a recording, but after I looked at your questions, I felt like this deserved a live conversation. So that's what we're doing. And for those of you who are twins here, it is a half of your soul wanting to experience itself with itself, just like triplets. People who have multiple babies, this is just think about portions of the soul experiencing itself with itself, you know, like how special and profound is that? Yeah. Amazing. So now, question number 10, how do we stay more aligned with our higher self, strengthen our intuition and discernment? So in the children are outside having a ball next door. So you do this in many different ways. Number one, self-awareness. That is how you do it because we are born with intuition. Discernment is like a muscle, and intuition, it is something you have to use every single day. Now, don't get me wrong. I think the biggest mistake people make is they feel they can do these things with their intuition, connect with their higher self and discernment without their body. And that's not it. In fact, the body is the master teacher. And when you understand that, what happens is the soul speaks through the body. Your spirit doesn't just live in your mind, it lives in your body. And so the more aware and embodied you are, the more of your soul that it can speak to you and you can understand it. We just talked about this the other night on the last show. And this is how you can begin to start trusting it. You can start understanding it, because true hearing doesn't come in through the ears. It comes in through this heart chakra space. Solar plex for most comes in through our intuition, but it's a full body experiment and experience that you're having. Your higher self is not higher in your body. It is all throughout your body. It's connected to your soul. And so to strengthen it, you have to, number one, you have to have good self-awareness. You have to know you. You have to understand who you are. You have to understand all aspects of thyself. Our ancestors, a part of the creed was know thyself. Now, that's only a portion of it. There's a whole nother part, but we're not going to get into that right now. But you understand what I'm saying. Know thyself. We want to know everything but us. Everything about what the world is doing, what the government is doing, what he's doing, what she's doing, what they's doing, what's happening in the waters, what's happening in the sky. And true enough, we are connected to it all, but we have to get a deep understanding with ourselves. And so, in ancient times, the mystery schools were about self-discovery. It was about understanding the self. And so self-awareness, number one, ask questions to yourself, understand that, discover those shadow parts of yourself, understand that your ego is not all bad, and it's not what we've been taught. We've been lied and hook-winked about the ego. And they made the ego about external things outside of yourself, and that is a part of it. And they made the ego about material things when that's a part of it, but that's not the ego. The ego is the part of you that's drenched in fear. And when a person is in fear, there's a lot of ways that can show up within yourself. And so this is the importance of doing shadow work, but not from the traditional way of shadow work. You don't have to destroy who you are in order to live. You can love yourself into a new life. You can love yourself back to life, because the portion of the ego that is really holding you back is the portion of you that's not real. That's not real. It's not real. It's not really you. It is either a projection of something that someone has projected onto you, either through childhood, either through systems of indoctrination, either through experiences that you've had along the way. But it's not who you are. It's not. That's why remembering is so much of the journey, because we're remembering things that really ain't us, right? And so these things are with us from this lifetime and past lifetimes. And so self-discovery, awareness, and expansion within your consciousness of who you are, the world you're in, is 10 out of 10. That's going to be the biggest way of staying in alignment of yourself. And that key word that sometimes we like to run from, and that's self-love, because that's the real shadow work you're doing, because then you don't create so much collateral damage along the way. You don't damage yourself. It's not damaging to your family. It's not damaging to the world. It's less damage that you're causing. Yeah. So intuition, yeah, powerful. You're born with it, but you have to use it every single day. I personally think humanity has taken our minds and we ran it in the gutter. The mind is a genius at the things that it can do, but we use our minds for far too many things that the mind is not designed to do. The mind is not designed to do those things. And those are going to be more intimate and personal things within yourself. And that's self-discovery. That's the intuition. And so it doesn't just come online when someone's trying to hurt you. But again, the body is so powerful. The body is your real master teacher. It's the one letting you know the reason why you're feeling this energy moving so fast through your body right now. It's a reason. It's a reason why every time you see that person, you get this little tingling inside of your stomach. This is your soul speaking to you through a consciousness that is not local, right? It's not a local consciousness. And your intuition will almost 90.9% of the time be completely opposite of what your mind is telling you. And I think that's the hardest thing for people to grasp who's never had intuition truly speak to them. Because you'll say to yourself, oh, I knew that. I was thinking that. It's different. You should be going, wow, I would have never thought of that. You're right, because it didn't come from your mind. It came from intuition. And this is where you can say, as an intuitive, when something comes from my intuition, I don't have to question it. I can answer anything because it ain't coming from my mind. My mind, it's a lot of things I don't know. I'm clueless about. But intuition, it'll get me where I need to be, and it will get you where you need to be. You just have to learn how to listen. And that's one of the reasons I tell you, you have to stay grounded within your body. Don't get me wrong, walking outside in the grass and, being close to nature, those things are very, very helpful. But let's face it, most of us can't stay walking in the grass 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We can't be hugging trees for 24 hours. We have other things we have to do. You have to learn how to function and be able to still tap into your intuition. And so there are techniques, there are things that you can begin to do. That's why I tell you guys, drop down in your body. This is something valuable. My guides and teachers have taught me, drop down in your body. Come out of your mind. Start getting curious about life. Start listening within to your body. How is your body responding? Do you know the difference between what is true to you and what is a lie? That's why self-awareness is there. Because if you know yourself, somebody can't tell you a lie about you. But we got so neutral in our world because we were living in a world, and still is to some degree, that is so judgmental. That most of us as children, we learned how to get out of things by saying, I don't know. And so that became our default. So when someone would ask us a question, rather than speak our truth and run the risk of being ostracized or someone making fun of you or not having the right answer, we opted for saying, I don't know. And that became our default. Not just the answer we give to other people, but how we inquire things within our mind. So we could be looking at a truth, and in our mind, we would say, oh, I seen that happen, but I don't know if it's true. Yes, truth is local. And so what may be true for you may be true for you. Now, don't get me wrong. There is a universal truth that exists, right? But we also have what is true for us. So yeah, there you go. That's how you do that. Let's go to question number 11 in my Bobby Hemmett voice. Y'all all right? Let me see. When I was a teacher for 18 years, when a kid said, I don't know, my answer, if you don't know, what might be the answer? I love that. I love that because it causes them to explore. because it's not about knowing everything. I don't want you to misunderstand what I'm saying, because I don't use my intuition to know everything, okay? That's not the point of this. Intuition is not for you to know everything. But when you're trying to be curious, mentally curious about what is going on and what is happening in your world, don't just stop at the first answer. One of the most powerful things I have learned on my journey, and that is I learned how to question the world. And I will tell you guys, question everything. But one of the most powerful things I learned was how to question myself. That's where I got the most growth, is when I started questioning me. Oh, it's easy for me to sit here. I can question you. I can question you like I was Johnny Cochran, the famous lawyer. Oh, I could question you like some of the best in this world. That's easy. But to question yourself, that is spiritual maturity. So let's go to the next question. It says, does the energy we are experiencing have anything to do with CERN? I want to talk about this because this has been a hot topic for a minute. I don't know if you all heard, but they made an announcement last week. It might have been 2 weeks ago. I think I seen the article where CERN was saying they're going to be shutting down. And CERN is going to shut down, I believe, for 4 years. 4 years. CERN is going to shut down. And if y'all don't know what CERN stands for, somebody put it in the chat, because I'm not going to go into that. But anyway, it's a group of scientists. They wanted people from all walks of life, and they go to this place, and they were trying to, what I say, discover the God particle. They were trying to break the atom. I think that's what they started out by. But here's what I want you to know. What CERN is doing can affect people on the planet, but not how you think. Not how you think, okay? It is not affecting you in the way that you think. It is affecting the atmosphere. I believe it definitely is affecting the atmosphere. I believe it is definitely affecting what is happening in Earth, but it's a small degree. A small degree. Okay? I don't think you realize how powerful you are. It's not that easy. If it was that easy, humanity would have been over a long time ago. Do you know how many experiments we have been through on this planet? And I'm not talking about the ones documented. I'm talking about the ones that were never documented. So the reason I personally feel, thank you for that, Dr. J, the coronal, yeah, all of that right there. The European Council for Nuclear Research, yeah. The reason I feel CERN is shutting down is because I personally feel that they work with a lot of remote viewers and others, and they know something is coming for humanity. Yeah, that part. And their efforts, their expertise need to be used in a different way. Now, I know they came up with this fantastic story about what they're building. They're working on doing something a different way. And I believe all of that is true. But I also know that something, either consciously or unconsciously, is letting them know we need to chill. We need to chill for these next couple of years. We need to chill, and we need to use our expertise in a different way for these next couple of years. And then we can come back and we can do something else. That's what I feel. that is going on. But as far as them affecting you and affecting me, no, no, no. Like I said, if it was that easy, there's so many people on this planet that feel that there's too many people on this planet and we'd have been gone. Okay. But it's not to say that things like earthquakes and things that are happening cannot be man-made or humans on the planet can't cause. Because right now I'm a little concerned for the East, for the East, because they have built this center that literally caused the earth to move. It's so huge, it's so large. So that part. One of the things in a self-invested class we taught many years ago and shows that we did on, we have taken so much oil out of earth because oil is a lubricant. And so imagine if you didn't have lubricant in your body, but you got bones. What do you think is going to happen when you try to stand up or you try to bend your knee or you try to take off and run and you don't have any lubricant in you? Earth is alive and it's a moving planet. And a lot of the oil that we have in this planet, we've taken it out. We're drilling it. We're doing all kinds of things. We're doing all kinds of things in the water. Now we are putting data centers down at the bottom of the sea and the ocean, all kinds of things that are giving off vibration and frequency. And we're going to have to learn a different way of living on the planet. Yeah. Let's go to question number 13. How can we utilize the Akashic records to bring forth balance when it comes to being born into a nation that has been conflicted by corruption? That's a powerful question. And so, not a real easy answer, but here is the answer. You can utilize the Akashic records, number one, by making sure your intention is not to create harm to another. Excuse me, to the best of your ability. And sending out well wishes for those around you by understanding that we all have to live here together. But I want you to understand this. There is probably never going to be a time that Earth is everybody just agrees. That is not the nature of Earth. So a lot of what we're dealing with is right in alignment with how Earth is supposed to operate. Once you get that in your head, you will see things different. The real goal for you when it comes to the Akashic records, because everyone has a record, a file in the Akashic records. Now, this is just me speaking metaphorically because I don't really see the Akashic records as a library or a building, but it is an easy way for people to go in through their minds and allow their higher self to take over. Because we connect to physical things that we can visualize, imagine, and see. That's an important part of our process of being beings on this planet. We have opted to use things that we have created into this 3D dimension as a part of our seeingness of being present. So that matters too. But I don't see it like that. I see it like energy, light, glob, plasma, I don't know, iridescent lights and orbs. However, everyone has a record in the Akashic records. Everybody. You could go in your Akashic records. You're in your Akashic records all the time. Your higher self and your soul has been speaking things to you about your Akashic records. But I want you to remember this. The Akashic records is not just about what's happening on Earth. It's not. And it's not just about, it's about everything. However, I focus on the portion for me, what is going on earth, because my goal is to support you while you're alive here, not take you off in a fantasy land, because that is not going to serve you as you're trying to live and grow up on planet Earth. You know, one of the reasons I don't go into all those other chakras, because a lot of those other chakras support you when you're outside of your body or you're outside of this existence. And when 90% of what you're doing is here on this planet, it's almost a waste of attention to be focusing on being in some far distant place, but yet you're here and you're suffering. I think that's the worst illusion a lot of people are under. They want to be everywhere but planet Earth. This is where we have elected to be. And so, this question about the Akashic Records, how we help humanity, those of us who are light bringers, those of us who feel like we're here to teach and to move the needle forward and to elevate whatever we want to call it, our bloodline, or to move humanity forward, or to be of service and create here, is to show up and be our authentic selves and be dedicated to that frequency. That's how you move humanity forward in that way. Because inside the Akashic Records, a lot of people think they're in the Akashic Records and they're really not. They're inside of their own mind, which they get to be, right? And I'm not here to judge anyone to say it. And they are taking a lot of fear and rules that apply on planet Earth that don't exist outside of Earth, and they are bringing it into the records to yet again take you and bring you into fear. So therefore, not only is your ass scared to be on Earth, you scared to leave Earth because you think it's more hell out there than it is in here. You see the loop? You see the loop. You see the problem with that. And so Earth is one of the more heavier densities on the planet, according to Ms.Blue. Okay. Now, let's see. Someone said, is there a real dragon beneath Venezuela? And is what we are experiencing a frequency war or spiritual warfare? And so to answer this question, it depends, because there's so many different souls on this planet. What I may see as energy, someone else sees it through the lens as a dragon. I need us to get this. I need us to get this. What someone thinks is a dragon, someone else sees as energy. Okay? I'm telling you, Venezuela, is there a dragon, a real dragon underneath that's shaking the ground that caused Venezuela to go through what it's gone through? No, I don't see it as a dragon, but I can understand how some people will see it as a dragon, because that's the lens they see through. They see through that lens of dragons. They see through the lens of fairies, you know? It's almost like if you go talk to a dentist and you start asking the dentist why your eyes hurt, the dentist is going to look at your teeth. It's going to look at your gums. It's going to look at everything in your mouth. And that dentist is going to tell you, your eyes are hurting because of your gums, because of this tooth, because it's pressing on this nerve. If you go see an optometrist and the optometrist looks in your eyes, the optometrist is going to tell you something else. If you go to the heart doctor and you talk to the heart doctor may tell you something completely different, because each one of them specialize in a particular field and they see things through a lens, a different kind of way. Does it mean that any of their answers are wrong? Does it mean that some of these connecting points don't come? They can. They can. And so I want us to expand our awareness in that kind of way. Some people need that enemy. This is a lot of old world things, and I'm not calling dragons enemies, but some people need that. There's a lot of souls on the planet that came from a time period where all of these things existed for them. People came from a time period when they were in the fairy kingdom. They talk about it in that kind of way. People came from a time period where things were in Egypt, so they talk about it in their language. Look at it like people explaining things in their language. The goal is for you to not get caught in somebody else's language, because what may be their interpretation becomes your fear. What becomes their interpretation becomes your burden. What becomes their interpretation becomes your imbalance. And I've seen a lot of people lose their whole mind and soul trying to live in someone else's lens. So the goal, I would say to you, is to find your lens. I have a more neutral lens. And so what happened in Venezuela is what has been happening all over Earth. And that is, Earth is alive. And every now and again, we forget Earth, Mother Gaia. It's a reason throughout history, Earth has been masculine. It's a reason, Gaia. It's a reason why Earth has been masculine, Geb. It's a reason why we have called these things and giving them living entities within them. I don't think Earth is really masculine or feminine by its nature. I can see that there were time periods over thousands upon thousands of years where Earth was a man, was more masculine energy. And I can also see where Earth has become more feminine energy in its nature. But Earth is alive. And so when Earth is doing what Earth needs to do, things happen. What happened in Venezuela is something that is sending a ripple through a lot of places, California being one, in the US and other parts of the world, because their infrastructure of how they built these houses, they weren't built steady. So soon as that shake came, things crumbled because things were not done in a way that they were sustainable. They were built on agriculture and land that could not support the structure that it was on. It's a lot of factors that went into that. A lot of things, in my heart and love goes out to them as well. Everyone who's been impacted by it. Right now, our oceans are growing. And so this is why that shake that happened in Venezuela has changed the complete landscape of Trinidad. This is how through earthquakes, how mountains are born. Did you know that? That's how we got mountains. So there is a method to all of this madness. It's a method. It's a method to it. Yeah. So, and right now, are we under a frequency war? I would say yes. Spiritual warfare, I think some people are. If you are locked into those old traditional systems, you're in a spiritual warfare. 100%. That's why I'm not a fan of any of these ancient spiritual systems on this planet. I'm not, because they're drenched in fear. Drenched. And so if you're in those systems, you do feel like there is a spiritual warfare going on. Yeah, but let this sink in. We're all spiritual beings. So, frequency war, I think it is a frequency war, but I think the war starts at home. I think a lot of us are battling with a frequency that's not ours, and we don't realize it's not our frequency. And we're doing everything in our power to get into our own frequency, because it's all about frequency. Everything, right? And everyone is trying to stay within their own frequency that's true to them. This is my frequency. Who I was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, that wasn't truly me. Or maybe it was for some. But we're learning what that means to embody our own frequency. Because we live in a world where we got Wi-Fi, we got things flying through the air, we got signals and pathways and all kinds of things that are happening. Right now, we are communicating through a frequency. Are we at war with it? We're not. But somewhere are they at war with frequency? Yes, they are at war. Yes. So yeah. All right, let's go on to the next question. Question number 15. How we doing, everybody? How are we doing? Here we go. Question number 15. How can we reprogram the mind to focus on the positive and align with our highest good, especially when it feels like we are always fighting something? So I say to you very kindly, put the weapons down. The most important job you have as a spiritual being on the planet is this. You gotta figure out how to get out of the lower aspect of your mind. That should be your 24-hour a day job. That needs to be your job, especially when you know that by changing your mind, not because Ms.Blue said it, there's been thousands and thousands of others way before we were born that have told us this same message from different cultures, from different backgrounds, from different spiritual systems that have put you in the line to let you know the mind is all. Not that the mind was great, but you got to understand how to navigate the mind. That should be your goal. And that's your fight. If you are battling, battle that. I battle when I say, you can't do this. When those negative thoughts come, I combat it with self-love. I combat it with the reality of what I'm facing every single day, little by little by little by little by little. I get curious about life. I find myself to reprogram myself to see the good and not just the bad. Because whatever you're searching and whatever you're looking for is whatever is going to show up for you. If you think the world is against you, and you hold that vibration, then you will get evidence. You will get proof that the world is against you. If you think the world is cheering you on and you think the world is here to support and love you, you will get physical evidence that will show you that. Play this little game with yourself whenever you doubt it. It can be simple. And I used to give this out years and years ago, and I give it out a lot to children in different kinds of ways, but even adults. And I'll say, you know what? I got to do a lot of running around today. I need a good parking spot. So I'm going to call on my guides. I know the world is working in my favor, and I'm going to get the perfect parking spot. And everywhere I go, I get the perfect parking spot. Something that simple. Something that simple. See, it takes a little bit of delulu, not too delulu, because some of y'all need to get checked out. I'm just going to keep it real. But I'm talking about just a little delulu. Just a little bit, which is really your imagination. But that is your eye magic. That's how you create magic. And I want you to start seeing things different. This is what expansion is about. There is something, and you all let me know. Did you know that, let's say you speeding, you in your car, you do it for a seat on the subway. I know that's right. You see a car and you're speeding and you see the police. Do you know if you register in your mind, oh my gosh, I'm speeding, and you press on the gas to slow down, that's the one the radar gun will pick up, even if you're not speeding. I'm just going to give you a real example so you can understand how energy works. But if you're speeding, you see the cop and you just take your foot off the gas and say, I'm just cruising along. They can't lock in on you. And too many times in life, we are so willing to lock in on the negative, and we'll hold that shit like it's gold. We'll go to 80 different readers and ask the same damn question. You locked in. It don't matter what they telling you. You're locked in. You're holding it. Energy goes where thought flows. You're feeding it. You're feeding it. So to answer this question, you reprogram that should be your number one task in life. In life, that's your number one. It's good for your body. It's good for your heart. It's good for your blood. It's good for your relationships. It's so good for your money, honey. You understand? It's good for the environment. It's good for your soul. This has been proven scientifically for those of you who need the facts that come from the science world, that being lucky is a scientific experiment that's been proven. And if you feel you're a lucky person, oh, you're going to be lucky. But if you feel that you're not, then you're not going to be lucky. And so every book, from the Bible to all the sacred texts, have talked to us about the power of our words, the power of what we're saying. Prophecy is not something that we get during dreams all the time. Sometimes we are prophesizing our own lives, our children's lives, our friendships, our connection, the people around us. We are prophesizing death and doom and gloom over them through jealousy, greed, and envy, and our own self-lack, while taking the medicine for ourselves. So you have to be consciously aware. Am I speaking life or am I speaking death? And the first person that has to experience it is you. And this is why when I learned this, it was a little challenging at first. But then I understood it. And that is, the universe, your higher self, God, will never, ever, ever talk shit about you. Let that sink in. Just kind of marinate and flirt with that question for a little bit. Never, never will it have something negative to say about you. Never. Never will it. Doesn't have nothing negative to say. Just let that sink in. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. For how we speak about ourselves and how we speak about others. And I'm not saying to be perfect, because a high vibrational thought cancel out so many negative thoughts. And so when you catch yourself, this is what my daddy used to say, oh, I'm going to need you to catch yourself. Then I need you to speak life over yourself. Speak life over the people around you. Speak life over the things that you're doing. Speak life over the things you're working towards. Speak life over it. And that's how you do it. But your number one focus is this. Make sure you get a hold of that. Make sure you gotta think of your mind like a dog. I know y'all don't like when I give that example, but it's the best one I've ever heard. You gotta think of your mind like a dog. You know how you go over to somebody's house and they got that dog? He's barking like he's going to attack you before you come in. And the person's like, come on in, come on in. He doesn't bite. Come on in, come on. He ain't going to bother you. He ain't going to, shut up, shut up. They telling the dog to shut up. The dog is going crazy. The dog is just running around, jumping all over you and everything. You can't even feel comfortable. The dog is jumping in your lap. You trying to get the, and she, get down, get the dog, get the dog, get the dog. No. Dog goes outside, he runs and chases the neighbor, pooping in somebody else's yard, pissing. You got to think of your mind like a wild dog. It needs discipline. It needs structure. It needs to be told, you can't do that. It needs love. It needs to be nurtured. Yeah. You got to treat your mind like that, or else your mind will be like a wild dog. It'll be chasing everything, every negative, anything. You over here, you see that person, they can't focus on no thoughts. Nothing goes in. Everything is everything. You answer a question or say something to them, they on to the next thing. They ain't even digest. They haven't even allowed the information to come in. They just, they're everywhere. Everywhere. They're everywhere. They're all over. You're like, oh my gosh, what is wrong with you? Where are you at? Come back home. Come back home. Come down. Come down. Baby, come down. Come down. Yes, that's what we have to do with our minds. This is the fear they have with social media. No one has an attention span. Or people are just spitting out things. They're not allowing themselves to use their intelligence. And that's what we have to catch ourselves in. Sometimes things require you to say, let me think. Let me take that in for just a moment. Let me take that in and really see how that connects with you. Yeah. All right. Here we go. Question number 16. I don't know if let me see where we at. Oh, we're not getting to all of these. Too many. Question number 16. I'm just going to start running through these a lot faster. I was taking too much time. We going to get on track. We all right? Thank you guys for being here. So here we go. Is the timeline shift that many are feeling coming true? And are we coming closer to enlightenment? The answer to that is yes, but this is not so much a collective thing that we're coming to. It's an individual thing that we're coming to. And so many of us have felt many timeline shifts, but I would agree that there is the wave of consciousness that's coming in. We just had a major portal open on yesterday, hitting a peak today. We'll have another one coming in on the 6th and another one on the 9th. And we'll have many other waves of that where there will be hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people on the planet waking up. And as we speak right now, currently on planet Earth, it is July the 4th, 2026. There's a wave of consciousness that's coming in right now. And many people who are at the soccer game, because I think there's one going on today, there's going to be millions of people that their lives will change after that. They are literally seeding into the consciousness of the planet at this time. We just want that to be a higher. The mind is not a prison, and your life is not a sentence. You're right, but the mind can be your prison. It shouldn't be your prison, but it can be. A lot of people have made their mind their prison. Yeah. That's why they want freedom. Freedom is a free dome. That's the mind. Yeah, that's the mind. Welcome on in, C Diggs. Okay, so y'all hear that. So timeline shifts is very real. We're shifting timelines. Think about it. Every time that you start reminiscing about when you were a child and you going back to that moment, you time shifted and you went back into the past. You did. You time traveled. You did. Or when you're thinking about something you want to experience or do in the future and you go there, you shift timelines. You do. You shift timelines. But there is a thing of changing timelines, like permanently. The timeline I was on 5 years ago, I'm not on that timeline and I never want to go back there. Never. Never do I want to go back to that timeline. I'm on a different timeline. And so many of you should be opting for changing timelines. Enlightenment, we are in the era of a renaissance. There is a creative and a innovative renaissance as we are moving into this golden age that we have entered into, but we're still on the bridge to what some would call as the age of Aquarius. I did a whole workshop on this a couple of years ago. We're on that bridge to that pathway. But enlightenment is a individual soul's choice. Everyone here is not going to be enlightened. Let's get that out the way, okay? Everyone didn't come back here to be an enlightened being. So respect others and their position. Everybody don't want to be enlightened. That's just not what they came back to the planet to do. But your goal, if that is your quest and your path, is to honor that. And I feel that if you're here and you're listening to me and you do this kind of work, or you listen to these things and you're putting that work in yourself, you are enlightened. But remember, there's levels to enlightenment, right? Levels. Let's go to 17. I want to welcome everybody on in the building. Welcome on in. Hey, C Diggs, good to see you. Welcome on in, everybody who's come in. Number 18th. Oh, this is a good question. Number 18. How will the body be affected by crystallization? And what is the meaning of Chiron being in Taurus? I'm going to answer that second part later because I haven't looked into that. But let me tell you about the crystallization. We have been in the crystallization process on the planet for a while, but we are becoming more crystalline beings. I feel like I answered this question before, but I want you to think about it like a crystal. And think about a crystal, and more importantly, more of a clear quartz crystal. When we become more crystalline beings, we're able to capture more light. And the light that we're able to capture is that light that is coming from our soul. You don't have all of your soul here. There is only a portion of your soul that is connected with you in your body, but there has been windows and times on the planet that there have been opening gaps for humanity to raise their level of consciousness, expand their awareness, where you can channel more of your soul's consciousness into you. Some people call it the God source, higher self, whatever you want to call it, into you, so that you have that connection. And you will be operating more from that. But in order to do that, you have to be able to have a physical body that can abstain more of that high frequency light. And the way that that happens is through a process called crystallization. I personally feel that we were born, and many of us, where we already had a portion of us that was crystallized, right? Think about the chakras themselves. You know how they talk about the energy centers and how they open, the chakras open. So you hear people say, oh, your heart chakra is closed, or, you need to widen your root chakra and all of this. Well, there's crystallizations and crystals that's inside of that. When you open that crystal up, and you do that, there's a process that it happens in many different ways. This is why when you see the caduceus, which is the symbol, the medical symbol. On the planet, you see two snakes. Most people only teach about one snake of the Kundalini energy rising. Well, Kundalini energy can be what brought you into awakening. And unfortunately, a lot of people on the planet are brought into awakening through some sort of trauma, something happening to them, or some sort of accident, some sort of heartbreak, some sort of illness, some sort of sickness, and boom, they're woken up, or some sort of loss in their life. And that snake starts to rise, and we begin to start realizing we are more than what we think we are. We are connected to more things than we think we're connected to. And we begin to ask that question, who am I? Right? That Kundalini energy is brought on, and that snake comes up. And we can begin to get a level of self-awareness about ourselves, and we begin to study. We begin to understand our world, and we begin to follow our calling that is inside of us and honor that calling that our soul is speaking to us within ourselves. And so we rise that Kundalini. Now, the second snake, which is the second snake many people don't talk about, that snake is not raw. You can't make that snake rise through studying. You can't make that snake rise through listening to a YouTube video. You can't make that snake rise through somebody else is understanding. That's not going to make that Kundalini snake stay rising on. That second snake rises when you do what we call alchemy. You have a realization. And a realization is when you are coming face to face with what we call source. When you really have that moment that you have this realization and you're like, oh my God, I figured this out about me. That realization, right? When you start doing the alchemy, that's when that second snake starts to rise and you start tapping more into what I like to call quantum wisdom, because you start to get a wisdom that does not exist on this planet. It's not based upon experience. It's not based upon anything you read or you did. It is an awakening that comes from within that causes change. Instant. Not, it's going to take me 10 years. It's going to take me 5 months. I'm talking instant. So you find that person that wakes up and says, I knew today I had to stop drinking. Whew. They stop, they change their whole life. That's an instant. Another instant, the person wakes up and says, I really know who I am. And they are fully committed to living their most authentic life. There is a shift. There is a change. There is something that happens. It happens on a chemical level in the body. It happens on a mental level. And it happens on a spiritual level. It's a full body experiment that begins to happen, and that crystallization starts to happen, and that person can then begin to start taking in more light, more light. So that's the crystallization process of what's happening. Now, when it comes to Chiron moving into Taurus, Chiron moving into Taurus, just think about what Chiron himself is. Chiron is the healer, or what they would call some in astrology as the wounded healer. But I found something very interesting when I studied Chiron's energy, because all this time I thought Chiron was this healer who he had a wound that he couldn't heal himself. And, so he dedicated his life. I'm giving you the short version. So he dedicated his life so he could help other healers heal so that they can continue to do their work. But there was no cure for his heal. So he kind of sacrificed himself and just stayed in pain and just helped others. And that's not what it was at all. Chiron could heal himself, and he knew he could. But he also knew that the wound that he had couldn't kill him. So he didn't let it stop him. And that really shifted my thought about what I understood about Chiron. Because Chiron is basically saying, oh, yeah, I know I got this poison in me. It can't kill me. How many times has something happened to you and you looked it in its face and said, yeah, that's real and that happened, but I'm still here. That's Chiron. That is Chiron right there saying, listen, they're saying, well, Chiron, if you come over here and if you do this and if you do that, we can heal you and you can be healed. And Chiron's saying, I don't need to do any of that because it's not bothering me, because it can't kill me. It's not stopping nothing I got going on. What I'm doing is what I'm choosing to do. How about it? And I want to be an example to let you know, just because this happened to you, just because that happened to you, just because you were born this way, and just because that's not your limitation. You can heal from that and you can keep moving on. And if you can't change it, it ain't going to stop nothing. There's a way around it. So Chiron is that teacher in that way. Now, that's my interpretation. Now, when Chiron moves into Taurus, we know Taurus is Earth is connected to Earth energy. So it's a lot of things with the body. So we got a lot of things that's going on. We're in the process of raising our consciousness for a lot of us. We are crystallizing it, but the body has to be able to hold it, or your body will start to fall apart. It can't take these high frequencies. It just can't hold it. So I always teach from this perspective. The more that you're diving into your journey, call it spiritual journey, whatever you want to call it, expansion journey, I say that, but whatever you choose to call it, the more you must take care of your physical body. The more in this dimension you have to bring your awareness. The more that you start going way out there, the more you got to take care of everything right here. The more you have to make sure that everything in this material world is balanced. Because this is what's going to ground you. You understand? Because you can be spiritual and be totally lost in this world. You could be one of the most spiritual people on this planet and not be able to make any decisions in your life. That's not the full embodiment of the experience. Now, if that's how you want to live, that's cool for you. But most people don't want to live that way. Because what good is it to help everybody else and you are suffering? And we have watched this. And this is an opportunity in humanity for us to do it different. Now, don't get me wrong. It's been a few that has done it different. And eventually we know that there will come a time and a place where we will leave these avatars that we're in and we will ascend on to our next assignment. That's a real thing too. But I'm talking about to be here and to suffer financially, suffer in your relationships, to suffer within your physical body. No, you don't have to. You absolutely do not have to. And if you are doing this work and you feel like you are suffering, there's a way out. Many ways out. And one, I would tell you, you got to start with that mind. That's why many of the classes I teach and programs I teach and many others, that's what that is there for. And if you're taking that as child's play, that it don't mean nothing, you want to do the big thing, like you want to make the wind move in the sky, or you want to shift your table across the room, then you're kind of playing with yourself. Especially when you know that there are things within you that you really want to do. We're living in a time where we don't have to fake it. We ain't got a lot of kick it, Craig. We can kick it for real. And that's what I want people to get from that. And this question is so profound because the body can be impacted. It's called ascension symptoms. And just because you know it's coming from ascension, it doesn't mean you ignore your physical body. Don't sit there and keep saying you hear ringing in your ear and you getting sicker and sicker and you just keep saying it's ascension. Because if it starts to impact your physical body, you need to take care of your body because the body has got to be able to maintain the frequency you are attempting to pull in. If the body cannot, then it will start to implode in many different ways, right? So hopefully that answered the question. Thank you for that. Let's go to question number 19. What should we do during meditation? And should we set an intention, visualize, or simply sit in stillness? This question is so profound and the answer is so easy. You should do all three. There is times that you should meditate and you should sit in stillness. That's a real thing. There's other times that you should meditate and you should use it as a visualization exercise. I personally feel when you get up in the morning, you should calm and center yourself in stillness within yourself, and then you should visualize. There is times where you can get into a unconscious state and set some intentions for that meditation. I think we should be working with all three, and all are very, very equally important. But I think the one that you will get your bang for the buck is when you can be able to sit in the stillness of you. That part. Sit in the stillness of you. Quiet the mind to the point where you can allow a thought like a cloud floating by to just float by without chasing it. Without chasing every thought. You don't have to chase every thought that comes in your mind because your thoughts do not all belong to you. Some of the thoughts are not yours. I know that's a alarming thought for some people, but everything you're thinking is not yours. Have you ever gone into a grocery store and then came back and sat down at the computer and all of a sudden you see all the ads from everywhere you went? Do you think somebody's reading your thoughts? I had a client once that told me they're being followed. No, you're not. It's letting you know your thoughts are not yours. And that's how Wi-Fi mimics thought. Because it's picking up those codes, those light frequencies we call UPC codes on the back of produce and products we purchase and places we go and objects we buy. And it's scanning it. And it's sending it into your portal and it's showing up on your timeline. And you think it's coming from this timeline. No, that's the artificial timeline. You control your own timeline that you're on. And so you have to have that discernment there. So here is the next question. It says, what exactly were the portals the Pope opened? And could there be a connection as why everything has felt so strange on Earth? Here is the thing. The portal the Pope opened was the portal that the Pope opened all the time. You guys remember when he was banging on the door, knock 3 times? I want you to get into your Gnostic teachings. I want you to go back into some of the ancient teachings when they tell you about the 3 knocks. When we think about the Masonic order and we think about some of the sacred, the mystical schools, when they talk about the knocking 3 times of hearing the knock on the door. It was a ritual, and that ritual was to bring everyone back into the castle that had burnt down, remember? And it was to bring everyone back in. Remember the one thing, I was watching a documentary online the other day, and it was a sister who was from, I can't remember what country in Africa, but she studied psychology and she studied it in the West. And it was a very profound interview because some of the things she said are often questions I kind of pondered and, thought about myself. And she was talking about when Christianity came into, and this is no shade, no cap to Christianity, these are facts. But when Christianity came into Africa, the first thing that it did is it caused a separation between the heart and your genitals. That these two things were nasty and dirty, the genitals, and that you couldn't trust your heart. And it took the power from the people and it put it in the sky and it put it in a god and it took it from the people. And she said she told the story about when she was young. She had worked very, very hard to buy these earrings and to buy a necklace, but her mother had started I'm getting into Christianity. Now she's much, much older. She's probably a little older than my mother. So she's probably, if she's not 90 or close to 90 years old. And she said she had went and brought some earrings and a necklace and she was told you can't do that because this is what loose women did. And everything in Christianity separated the masculine energy away from the feminine energy. And that anything that women would do to adorn themselves, like earrings and necklaces, would cause men to want them and only want to do something that was considered to be a sin, was to have sex with them. So her mother made her throw away the earrings and throw away the necklace because it was considered to be a sin, and she would be considered to be, like this Jezebel or this loose woman if she did that. And it took the trust out of it. So fast forward, after she graduated from college in New York, she went back home to Kenya. I believe she's from some part of Kenya. And she said, this is many, many years later. And she noticed that at the university, they had the boys and the girls together. And she noticed they didn't know how to interact with each other, because at this point, a lot of them were taken out of their own spiritual or culture, not spiritual, culture experience, and they were placed into Christianity. And so there was this big awkwardness between the boys and the girl. And it was just so interesting. If I can find it, I'll tag it afterwards below. But I think it's worth listening to because it kind of brings us into this question here about opening the portal. Opening this portal was to invite people back in to something that once was dominant on the planet, which was the religion and which was the Christianity. So the portal he opened was the portal that was once open again. And it was done on a grand scale across the world because, of course, there's Christians all over the world. And so this was a way to get people to recommit themselves back into this spiritual system. So that's the portal the Pope opened. And you said, could that be a connection to why everything felt so strange on Earth? I would say, no. Things are strange on Earth because there is a breakdown that is happening on Earth. And it is one that we have seen coming, and it has been prophesied for a long time. There's a season for everything, and what is in Earth's time is different in our experience of seasons on the planet. We are in the season of the fall on Earth, and we've been in fall for a while, right? And we know summer, spring, winter, fall, and then we go back to the spring. So we are making our way back to spring, but we are still in the fall. And so things started to get strange because the frequency changed A lot of people have been expanding their consciousness and awareness. And even if they are Christian, the way that they understand it is never going to be the way that maybe our grandparents or great grandparents understood what that means, or any of these spiritual systems on the planet. It is completely different. When you raise your consciousness, you move beyond the level of what is operating at the 3D level. You go to a different place, and it doesn't matter your culture, your background, or where you come from. You have a different, a more expanded view of how you see this. And that made things strange. Plus, the veil on the planet was being lifted at that time. And so, because we were lifting our own veils and the planet veil is being lifted, the truth was coming out. That's when it was slowly coming out. Look at it. Look at us now. Look at us now. Now you can't even tell truth without discernment. That part. That's another key. So there you go. There you go. There you go. And I want to go to the next question. How do we as the collective find lights in these trying times? You have to find your light by going within. You have a spark within you, which is your source spark, connected to your God consciousness. That's how you find it. You don't look outside yourself. You find it from within. Now, there may be things that inspire you on the outside, but that true connection of your light, that has to come from in here. That's an inside job. So the more that you understand yourself, you understand your purpose. And I want to preference that in a kind of careful way, because that's a tricky kind of word. A purpose is not something outside of yourself. Your purpose is your beingness. Can you be your authentic self? That's your number one purpose. Hands down, that's it. The second purpose, I would say, is to find joy, to be here and be joyful. Because once you do that, when you're being your authentic self, you're going to find joy. Joy is going to activate inside of you. And then anything can become your purpose. Right now, my purpose is channeling right here. 20 minutes from now, my purpose may be going in there talking to my daughter, see what she got going on. That could be my purpose. Your purpose is to be right here, right now. Why? Because you have made a conscious, authentic choice to be here. Through your free will, through your awareness, you have chose to be here. This is your purpose. So I understand sometimes when we want to contribute to the whole, but how you get there in a way that is sustainable is you got to find it from within first. Ms.Blue, it sounds like your voice changed. It seems like a lot of energy is around you. Can't see you clear like in the beginning. You can't? Y'all can't see me clear. Ooh, I don't know. Well, you know, the throat chakra on the planet is recalibrating, and my throat chakra is recalibrating. So I want you to understand. So I want you all to understand that. So when you're looking for your purpose, y'all can't see me clear? No, your video, my video is blurry. You know what that means? It probably means that my daughter is in there sucking up all the Wi-Fi. Sucking it up. Sucking it up. Sucking up all the Wi-Fi. Or they turning the Wi-Fi down on your girl because they know we over here dropping it. Let's see if something changed right now, you guys. I had a lot of messages trying to come in, but let me know if that worked. I just want you all to know that the crazy thing is I did a whole show the other day and it told me I wasn't online. I didn't have Wi-Fi. You know what? And here's my daughter talking about can't be me because I'm not on my PC. Okay, thank you guys. Shots out to Silver Lex in the building. It's weird because the chat box is clear. Oh, okay. Listen, let me see, you guys. Let's see if we can. Let me see if I could do something. Let me see if I could do something here. Let me see if I could do something. You say the chat box is clear. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. All right. We're going to keep going, though. We ain't going to let it stop nothing. But thank you all. Thank you all. Well, I'm glad the chat box is at least clear. I don't know. Let me know if I come through. You know, I'm channeling a lot of energy. Well, I'm glad you all can hear me. Now, we can do something if y'all want. I can shut this down and we can start again. It's up to y'all. What do y'all think? Y'all want me to shut this down and start again and y'all come back, we come back and we can try it again? What y'all think? What y'all think? We still listening to you regardless. I know that's right. And you logged in the top corner bandwidth, making it blurry so it will get better? Huh? The stream is good. The bandwidth is making it blurry so it will get better. Only hit the like button. Only what? Let's see. Only if they hit the like button. That's right. If y'all hit the like button, that's a good one, Dragonfly Intuition. Listen, hit that like button. Hit that like. Y'all hit that like button. Let's see if we can run this up to 200. Y'all run it up to 200, I'll stay. Y'all run it up to 200. We don't get to 200 people to like because I know it's more than that liking. Listen. Then I'm going to log out and I'm going to come back because we still got quite a few questions. Let's see. Hit that like button. Y'all can hit that like button. Y'all can hit that like button. Y'all hit that like button. We at 94. We need about 6 more people to hit that like button. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. All right. We're going to keep going regardless, you guys. I'm sorry. I don't know what it is, you guys. I've turned off everything, so I don't know what it is. We're going to try to keep going. We're going to try to keep going. I have to make sure my phone is not connected because I got a lot of messages coming in. Okay, did it get clear? Oh, we at 95. Look at y'all. So here's the next question. Someone says, what can individuals do to discover their life purpose? This question here. Oh, we at 97, you guys. We just need a few more. This question is one close and dear to my heart because it is something that I wanted to discover. I wanted to discover, what is my life purpose? Like, what am I here to do? Like, what is my purpose in this lifetime? Like, what is it? What is that purpose? And 2 things I want to tell you. First, you will have many purposes in your life. Many purposes in your life. There's not just going to be one life purpose. I need you all to really let me know that you hear that there isn't just one life purpose for you. That's almost like when people thought they could only have one soulmate. Do y'all remember that? It wasn't too long ago, and I told y'all I was never a fan of that. And people was running around on the planet, had one relationship, staying in abusive relationship, traumatizing relationships, saying that was their soulmate. And that's why they knew they had to stay with that person no matter what, because their soul came back to experience that one person. Do y'all remember that? Do y'all remember it? It wasn't that long ago. Y'all was real mad at me because I told y'all there's no such thing as no damn one soulmate. No. We are too dynamic for one soulmate to think that you have to find this one person or your life is not going to be complete. The truth of the matter is it kind of works that same way with your purpose. Now, maybe what your purpose was before you turned 20 is completely different now that you're in your 30s or older. What your purpose was about 5 years ago is completely different. How about twin flame? Twin flame is the same thing. You have multiple twin flames. And they put flame at the end for a reason. For a reason. They put the flame there for a reason. Now, I do feel that there are souls who come back to experience and do things together, absolutely, but it's not singled down to one person, even though we may choose one person for that experience together, you know? So, no, that's not it. So, purpose is the same thing. How you discover, so the question is, let me stay focused. What can individuals do to discover their purpose? Put yourself in a high vibration. What do I mean by that? If there is something you enjoy doing, especially my daughter is being extra here. Let me see. Especially those of you who, as a child, maybe you love dancing or you love singing or you love drawing or you love fixing things or all kinds of things. Where you have your love, I want you to get into that vibration. Because when you get into that vibration, it doesn't mean that that's going to become your life purpose. That's not it. But you're in a higher vibration. And when you're in a higher vibration, your soul can communicate to you easily. And that's when you will hear the calling. That's when you will decipher the messages that keep coming and you don't get a full understanding. And that's where you will figure out what the next steps is. Your soul will start to speak to you through your body and through everything. And you're going to know that that message came in from your soul. And you're going to honor that. So this is why everywhere they tell you, what do you love doing? I always ask you guys, what do you enjoy doing? Go do that. And you say, but Ms.Blue, what's my purpose? Go do that, because your energy and vibration is too stuck down in this 3D, and it's hard for you to tap in when your energy is so low, when you're sad, when you're in the thickness of it. You only can pick up what is in that frequency that is around you. But if you raise your vibration, if you raise your frequency, and you're happy and you're free and you're not overthinking and you're not all in your head, then you can get the answer you want. That's why the best thing you can do if you feel stuck about something is to go do something you enjoy, or go outside and go for a walk, or go watch a funny movie, or take your mind out of it. Because the moment you take your mind out of it, your higher self can step in and you can really hear what was trying to come in all along. Not taking your mind and running it in the gutter and burning it out completely. That's not going to solve it. All right. Am I still blurry? Let me know. Let me know. Still blurry? Let me know. Let me know. Let me know. I'm not going to make that the focus, but I do want to know. And welcome everyone on in. Yes, I'm still blurry. Thank you, Florence. All right, here we go. I need y'all to send some high vibes to the internet, because everybody is probably coming back in from shooting fireworks. So send the energy back in. Send it back in. All right, so here we go. As the collective is being reborn and coming online, how should people navigate which communities best suit them, especially when there are different spiritual paths, aspects, and deities? I would say that's the wrong way to navigate. Don't be trying to fit into a community. Don't be trying to jump on a spiritual path. And don't be trying to just reach out and contact all these deities. If someone is being reborn and you are coming online, follow your curiosity. That's what you're doing. This journey is about expansion. It's not about different spiritual paths. There's really only one spiritual path. I want to say that loud and clear. There's only one spiritual path. That's it. We're on the journey of expansion. Everybody here is spiritual. We got to get out of thinking there's multiple spiritual paths. No, they're not. I understand by definition what you're talking about, but I want you to look at it from a more expanded way. Follow your curiosity. Somebody can be on a spiritual path and never come in contact with the likes of us. They can be on their spiritual path and open up their brand new bakery and bake for their community and the people. They could be donating to homelessness and the shelters in their community. They could teach people how to come in and learn how to bake bread and teach them everything about eating healthy and how they mix all the ingredients together. That is still a spiritual person that doesn't have to learn any of this stuff. We have got to get out of thinking spirituality is this bubble that is contained into a dictionary that only a few people understand the meanings. Because I know a lot of people that got a whole lot more words than a lot of us, and they know more about the history on the planet Earth, but there isn't anything really connective within them. So you have to learn how to use discernment in all of this. And really the goal is not to follow behind anything. It's to listen to your soul. What feels at home? What feels safe? What feels like truth? Where do you feel you can connect and be your authentic self? If you find you're hiding, you're holding yourself back, all of those things, then you need to stop, retreat, and go within and start to ask yourself the questions. It's good to be around people where we can dialogue and we can converse, but I need you to see yourself here as an active, living spiritual being, not as a figure holding a spot. That's not what you are. And if you think that that's what you are, then you got it twisted. Your presence matter, your energy matter. And I don't need to be the one to tell you that. You have to know that, not from an ego point of view, but from an understanding of who you are and who we all are together. And too many times we treat our lives, we are 5, 6, 7 different people. And this is why a lot of people have a hard time with their own mental identity. Because when you're here, you're one person. When you're with that group, you're another person. When you're over here with your family, you're somebody else. You go hang out with them, you're a completely different person. And you don't know who you are anymore because you are showing up mimicking the energy you're in as opposed to living authentically as yourself. That is what the goal should be. That's how you navigate. And if there is a place that is, this is a saying that I heard growing up, and you all let me know this. I want to go where I'm celebrated, not tolerated. Yeah, my mother used to say that. You need to start hanging around people that celebrate you and not tolerate you, because there's a big difference. You understand? So this is what I'm telling you. This is what I'm telling you. That's what we need to go to. Let's go to the next one. As the collective is being reborn and coming online, we answered that. Let's go to question number 25. Are there any guidelines for knowing who we should coordinate or connect with spiritually, especially for those of us that's new on this journey? I think it's a fair question. I think sometimes when people first get on this journey, they want to connect with everyone except themselves. And I think it's good. I think you can do both. I think it's important that you connect with yourself. That's a fair thing. I think it's important, if it brings you joy, that you connect with your ancestors. For some of you, you have no business connecting with your ancestors because it doesn't bring you joy. Don't do it. For some of you, it doesn't bring you joy to connect with your spirit guides. Stop trying to connect with them. It doesn't bring you joy. Some of you don't want to connect with your own family because it doesn't bring you joy. So stop trying to say you want to connect with your ancestors. For what? Where do you think you got your family from? Your ancestors. Now, I'm not saying that all ancestors are that way, but I'm saying, why are you forcing yourself to do something that you don't want to do? Because you think that that's what people are supposed to do. It doesn't actually work that way. You can honor your ancestors without focusing your whole life on them. Because ancestors, deities, spirit guides, aliens, sentient beings, none of them are here to take over your free will. Listen at me. None of them are here to take over your free will. They all are coming from source, where the soul is. And they're here to help you trust yourself more through your intuition, through your multisensory abilities. Okay? Yeah. So hopefully that helped. If you knew, take it slow. Take it slow. Learn how to love you. Be excited about you. Be excited about you. Thank you, Lola. Lola said she is blurry because the dimension shift. And low key, that used to happen to me back in the day. But I thought our technology had advanced. I used to, back in the day, blow people's computers and phones up. Don't tell me we back here again. Don't tell me that. I don't know. Florence did say I was coming in kind of strong, so we gonna see. We gonna see. All right. We gonna see. Let's go to question number 27. What is the meaning of a organic beauty mole appearing on the chin later in life? Now, that's an interesting question. Usually when beauty marks appear on a person's body, and those beauty marks just sort of come out of nowhere. I don't know if y'all can see it, but let me see. Where my little mirror at? I got a beauty mark, like a freckle that's on my lip. I don't know. Y'all can't see it. I don't know if y'all can see it, but sometimes it's there. And it came out of seemingly nowhere. Out of nowhere. But it's not. It's a spiritual marker. Big Mama, I shut your TV off. I'm sorry. Listen, it is a spiritual marker. So I want you to think about what was going on at the time in your life when you noticed it. What happened? What happened when that happened? What was going on with you? It's a spiritual marker for you. A lot of times it's when I have seen from the work I do, when people have turned in their original blueprint of maybe something you were going to do on the planet, and you shifted timelines and you shifted what you were going to be working towards. Another time I have seen it with clients is when you have completed an assignment and something that was a big hurdle within the bloodline, within the family, you cross that threshold and bam, something appears. And you're like, I didn't notice that. I know I didn't have that. And you go back, you look at pictures like I did. I looked at pictures, I looked at things, and it wasn't there. It was gone. It was gone. It wasn't there. And so I knew that I had crossed a threshold within my bloodline, a threshold within my family line, about things. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm. Mm. Thank you for the super chat. I hope you are well, and thanks in advance. I'm open. By the way, I have moles and 2 birthmarks. Now, let me tell you something I discovered many years ago, about 20 years ago, about birthmarks. When you have a birthmark on you, I want you to take a picture of it, and I want you to look at some maps, because often that is a map that you have on you. And a lot of times it's a map from things of past lives, but it can also be of things in this life where you will return to. And don't just look at the current map. Go back and look at some ancient maps. Look at some old maps. Look at, you could probably go online now. A lot of this stuff is online where you can find different maps from different time periods. And then take a picture of your birthmark and blow it up really, really big and see. Some of the birthmarks are tribal marks. I had a client come to me once and she had a birthmark, and later, while she was in college, one of her best friends, they had the same exact birthmark on their back. Exactly the same. It looked like a tattoo. Because in a past life, those two were sisters in a past life, and those were tribal marks that they had on them. I often find that people who like a lot of tattoos, they come from strong tribes that had tribal markings on them. And this is the way that they reclaim a lot of that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When the birthmark grows and expands, it can grow and it can expand. In fact, because most people birthmarks, you're a baby. So of course, when you grow, guess what? It's got to expand. It's just letting you know that you have a strong connection with a place on planet Earth and a time period on planet Earth. That is something you can get curious about and start studying that time period on the planet. See what kind of aligns with you. See what part of the world that fits into, because that's where that is. Now, here's question number 28. We're going to keep going. I'm going to try. We're almost done, you guys. What should we focus on as the collective, regardless of our race, color, gender, age, in order to move to a higher vibration and frequency? This is a profound question, almost like one of the earlier questions we got in the beginning, regardless of our background. I would say those same things apply, but I would say everything that you named, race, color, gender, age, those are things not to focus on. Because when you've done as many past life readings as I have done, and I've done thousands of them, thousands upon thousands of past life readings from people from many different walks of life, you will discover that you have been every single thing on this planet. You've been a man before, you've been a woman before, you have been white, black, Asian, Middle Eastern, African. You have been all of these things on the planet before. And even some, when I was doing soul sessions, I was able to take them back. Hopefully my daughter doesn't mind. Even when I did her soul session, in a soul session where I did these sessions for many of the viewers and listeners, I would work with them one-on-one and I would take them back beyond hypnosis. This is before I even bumped into work like Dolores Cannon. This was way before that. I was doing this work already. And I took her on a soul session. She took me back to a life when she was in ancient Kemet in Egypt. She told us about what she was doing, eating and doing all kinds of things and what it looked like and described the place. The other thing she told us, which was so profound, was she told us that she was air. At one time, she was the element air. And she said, and she explained how air, your voice, which produces through air, is connected to your soul. And so your voice and your soul is connected. And so how you're speaking, like I'll have to go back and listen to the recording, but it was very profound to understand about the voice and the soul and why it was so important that you speak up and that you speak your truth and you speak things of life, because your voice is direct contact to your soul. It's how you unlock the soul through the voice. So things like singing, which she was very much connected to, things like speaking, communication, all of that. So many, many powerful things. So I say our focus should be everything but that. We shouldn't focus on the person's race, their color, their gender, or even their age. And this is why humanity has gone through so many ups and downs that we've gone through to help us break trying to identify. So now we have so many different identifiers. You know, there's not just masculine and feminine. There are people who don't identify as either. And that is so we can have expansion in our minds. Because the truth is, we are half our mothers and half our fathers. Yes, there is a physicality that comes through. That is still a true point. But I think a lot of times we lock ourselves into our genitals and not into the essence of who we are. And when we can start greeting people, not by gender, not by race, not by age, not by color, but by frequency. See, this is why they wear the bindi in Africa and they wear the bindi in India. Because this is symbolizing the third eye, letting people know that I am greeting you by the frequency you are showing up with. Now, don't get me wrong, cultures matter on the planet, and we have all chosen these cultures for a specific reason of something the soul wishes to learn, to be a part of, to contribute to, and to help advance that collective. So there is a point of that as well, but not to be so fixed and locked into it that you see blinders. And as you can see, the world is moving away from that. We're not where we used to be, but we got a lot of work we still got to do in all of those areas there. All right, let's go to the next one. This question, why do we often recognize beauty in nature? For instance, like a peacock, but still divide ourselves as human beings based on biases instead of honoring each other's beauty and gifts. That kind of weaves into this question. It's called being immature and program. There's a program that runs on this planet that defies what is beautiful. Now, a lot of that programming is crumbling, but there's still people locked into that program. And when they see beauty, it's this particular template of what they would like to call beauty. But I think for most of us, and at least those of us here, we are able to find beauty in everything and everyone. And this is what we're learning how to look for within ourselves, because I can't find beauty outside of myself if I don't see it in me. How do you expect me to see the beauty in you and I can't see the beauty in me? So it has to start with ourselves. But I feel we are moving towards a place where we are starting to honor the beauty within life. And that's what we're all being sort of challenged to do. Can you honor the beauty within humanity? Can you find it? Because the moment we can lock into that beauty, the more we can have more of the beauty. So powerful. Next question. What's going on with the sun? Here comes the sun. I love this question. So a couple of things that's going on with the sun. There are over eons when the sun starts to communicate with the inner sun. And those two suns start to communicate with the soul sun. So there is a sun that I feel often, and many have stated as well, that exists in the center of Earth. And right now the suns are communicating with each other. And they are sending information, beams of light to the Earth sun. And that Earth sun is sending that beam of light to the planet, to us suns. We are solar beings, and this is why lots of civilizations, all of them, they sort of worship the sun, because the sun is not something that lives outside of you. It's something that lives inside of you, just like all of cosmos. But that activation that's happening, because most of our intuitive, our psychic abilities are not coming from out of the sky. It is coming from out of Earth. And Earth is doing a lot. Earth is earthing. Okay. And that sun that's in Earth is communicating with all of us on the planet. And it's causing a lot of us to wake up. This is a part of the awakening of consciousness on the planet. And so there are all kinds of things that the sun is doing. You know, I remember when we did a spirit quest back in the day, and I took everybody inside the sun, and the sun has chambers that almost looks like the Egyptian temples. And they kind of go up like a ramp and go around. There's portals in the sun. And you can actually travel through the sun. There are light beams that come in through the sun. But the sun has more to offer us than just food and nutrition. It is giving us insight and intel, activations, downloads, upgrades. It is information that is coming in from the sun to nourish us. But sun to sun is communicating, soul to soul. I want you to think about the song, Back to Life, Back to Reality. This is what sun to sun is doing. It is bringing us back to life, back to reality, back to the here and now. I remember when a lot of things kicked off with that conflict that was happening over there. And I made this statement several times. And one of the questions many of you emailed and texted and DM'd me was like, what did you mean by that statement when I said, I really feel that a lot of this war stuff is going to calm down because of Mother Nature and what's going to be happening on the planet. And we see a lot of things have come to a straight halt. A lot of the conflicts because of what's happening on the planet, the earthquakes and all of those things that I shared with you guys back in 2025, 24, and even into 2026 when Venezuela and Japan and many of the other places, California, all of these places were places that I listed. That brings us to our next question. What are your thoughts on the young boy who predicted the Venezuela earthquake and also predicted an 8+ earthquake in California? My thoughts are the same. I predicted it as well. There's many of us that are getting this vision. Hell, it's many of you guys in the soul group who are getting this vision. And some of you are very, very much connected to the planet. And so you can feel it. You get that energy that's inside of you when something's happening on the planet. We are that connected that it doesn't matter if you are a child. In fact, one of the things I have told parents for years, back when I was doing the baby lotus and the glowing lotus reading, if the baby wakes up and the baby is extra cranky or sad or crying, cut on the television, because it was television back then, check the news or look in the newspaper and see what's happening around the world, because your child is picking up on it. So children are a little different. They're not as censored as everybody. And so this young boy who predict is not, we say the word prediction, but what I call a prediction is something already in motion. That's a prediction. That's all a prediction is, something that's already in motion that we have energetically picked up on. That's what a prediction is. A prediction is not somebody saying something will happen before it happened. That earthquake started many years ago. That earthquake in Venezuela did not just start on that day. That was the day that it came to light. It came to the surface. Just like things that are going on inside of you, it doesn't start just that day. That is something that had started a while ago. So many of us are picking up on these things. Many of you guys are picking up on these things, and you have acknowledged it as well. So it's a beautiful time that we're in, that we can have more than just a Notre Dame that is predicting. See, back then, consciousness was kind of isolated and not documented. So they would have one person in a century that can do that. Now we got people who are using ancient systems like astrology and numerology and African spiritual systems and, spiritual systems from the I Ching, from psychics to mediums to all kind of channelers. Everybody can tap in. And that's why I keep telling y'all, tap in, tune in. You've got to tap in too. So so we can know what's really going on, because there's no such thing as the news anymore. You have to be able to use your multisensory abilities to connect yourself. That's why my dedication at this time is to helping you develop your multisensory abilities. And I've been dedicated to that path for more than 20 years. But that is my ish. I need you to know how to tap into you, because there is some information, intel that only you can bring, that only you can connect to for yourself. And you need to be able to trust that. That is your news. That is your internet. You understand? Your intuition is your internet. That's the internet you should be tapping into. That's your technology to connect yourself to. So here's another one. Why do some people keep repeating the same financial cycles year after year, even when they try to do something different? How can they begin to shift the pattern? So one of the reasons that people keep repeating the same pattern is because they haven't stopped to learn what they're doing that's out of sync. There is a program running. So whether it's in finances, relationships, health, whatever it is, there is a program that is running in the unconscious. So this is something that someone is unaware of that they keep doing. And so how they get out of it is, this is where you have to become the scientist. And this is when you have to become the person to start questioning yourself. You have to start looking. You have to be totally invested in. You have to be very present. And you have to have discipline. And you have to have structure. Because you are looking for where this program is within your consciousness. And I promise you, you will find it every single time. It takes work. That's the real soul work. is to find out where the pattern is looping and where are you not conscious of the pattern looping. Okay? Mm, mm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, um, let, yeah. So, there we go. So, that is going to complete our community check-in. Those were 32 questions. We will do it again because eventually I want to get to the point where I am recording these community check-ins, and so that we can come back and you guys can watch it. You can watch the community check-in and you can be able to ask your questions. One of the things that I will tell you, you can ask questions, just make sure it's not personal questions. And you guys did an amazing job of asking questions for the collective, because these are the questions that really can help all of us. I would love for you to share your thoughts down below in the comment section. We're going to get ready to get out of here. I hope you all, if you celebrate the 4th of July, you had an amazing 4th of July and you celebrated your own freedom. You took a look at where you've been and where you are now. You're taking a look at the things that you've changed within your life, that you've upgraded when it comes to your consciousness, how you're living, that expansion journey for yourself, and where that freedom that you now have, that once you were only dreaming about, but now you have made that dream the reality. And so I don't want us to stop here. Remember, 4th of July is something that really we should carry deep within our souls for our ancestors, our loved ones, and everyone that is here on the planet right now, that we continue to carry this freedom. We continue to carry this celebration of greatness within ourselves, within our lineage, within our family, within the culture, forward, and be that representation of what we wish to see in the world, not in the future, not when someone else changes positions, but now for ourselves in our lives and for the people who mean the most to us in our lives right now. I'm surprised I didn't get more disclosure questions, but I'm sure that'll be on the next one. So I'm going to get ready to get out of here. I love you all so much. Thank you so much. Make sure you pass the show on. And also, you guys, drop, in the comments. I want you to drop in some of your thoughts as well, too. We are all here growing up on planet Earth together, and we have to be responsible while growing up. I am Ms.Blue, the Soulful Oracle. I love you all so much. Let's have an amazing rest of the weekend. I will see you all back here next week. Loving blessings to you all. Peace and love. Peace and love. Ciao.